Lena, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. All right, so this is lesson 9, it looks like?
Yes.
All right, so what's your lesson going to be about?
My focus is going to be on main idea and identifying important supporting details in the text and distinguishing them from details that are just interesting. Because I noticed in our discussions and when she's responding to text, she pulls out a lot of details that aren't that important to understanding the main idea of the chapter. Okay. So I want to work on that a little bit more with her.
Why do you think right now is a good time for this lesson?
We spent a great deal of time on questioning the text and thinking more critically about the text, so I think now I want to move on to another area that she struggles with, which is the main idea.
Okay. Sounds like you have a good plan and reasoning for doing it.
Thank you.
What will your 2D be doing throughout the course of the lesson?
So we will be, after I model and explain the idea of important details and main idea, she will be reading the chapter silently, and I'll be stopping throughout to pose questions to her about the chapter to ensure her understanding of the text.
Okay.
And I'm going to be guiding her in identifying important details from the chapter. So as she's reading, we're going to stop, and I'm going to ask her to tell me something important that we can list on a chart. And on the chart, we'll have one side that says important details, and then on the other side, I'll chart anything that she says that's kind of interesting but not as important to the main idea.
Okay.
And so after she's done reading the text for the chapter, she will write a summary of the chapter incorporating the supporting details, important supporting details from the chart.
Okay. Sounds like a good plan. So it sounds like that you're going to do some modeling for her.
Yes.
To help guide her and to scaffold that, which is good. So it kind of sounds like the last lesson we looked at with the QAR. She was struggling to pull out specific details that would help her with the overall meaning of the text. So I think this is a good follow-up lesson with that, especially.
Thank you.
So start off with your modeling, and then you'll head into the independent reading, right?
Yes, the modeling, then the independent reading, and while she's reading, we'll stop and
do some questions.
I'll stop and ask questions, and I'll guide her in identifying some important details that we can put on the chart.
Excellent, very good. I think the chart's a great idea. Always good to know visual representations.
Right, and I think it's something that's going to help her that she can refer back to when she's writing her summary at the end.
Yeah, that would be important. Excellent. What do you think your 2D will either be doing, or what do you think you're going to hear from her that's going to indicate whether or not your lesson is as successful as you want it to be?
Well, I think after a few points of guidance that she will be able to start pulling out details that are meaningful, more meaningful to her comprehension of the text. And so that's what I hope to see.
And I think maybe that summary would also help, right? Because you're having to write that summary. So it'll be a good way for her to connect those details and make it one uniform product rather than multiple. So that'll be something to look for too. Excellent. Sounds like you have a really well-planned lesson. What do you think, if there will be anything, for your 2D's reaction to know if the way that you model and the directions you're giving are understood by her?
I think if she still continues to struggle with identifying important details and she's still pulling out information that's not as relevant or critical to her understanding of the text, then I'll know that either my delivery wasn't effective, or we need to revisit my instruction and make some changes.
Okay. So heading into tomorrow's lesson, what is it that you want me to look for? What are some things that maybe possibly you have an idea of? Because it sounds like she's going to do some independent reading, and then you have some questions for her. So what do you think you would like me to focus on?
Well, I know last time I was really focusing on my complexity of questions, so I don't really think I want to focus on that again, because you had given me feedback and said that the questions you felt were appropriate.
Yeah, I think you did a good job with those last time.
So I'm thinking maybe I sometimes feel that I often don't give her enough time. I kind of jump to help her
Mhm.
when I see that she can't, she's struggling to answer questions independently. So maybe something that I can work on, and you can help me by observing this, is the amount of time I give her for responding to questions that I ask.
Okay.
So
Wait time's always important, regardless of the grade that you're entering. So I think that's something that would definitely be beneficial to look for. So I'll make sure that, well, after you ask the questions, if she's still needing some prompting, I'll take a look, see how long you're giving her before you give her that second prompt,
okay.
and see if it's appropriate for her, or whether or not you maybe jump in a little too quick, like sometimes we do. So.
Yeah, I think that will be helpful.
Okay, good. So that's what I'll take a look at, and I'll just record it on a chart.
Okay.
The question and then the wait time
Okay.
before jumping in, or if no jumping in is necessary.
Okay, sounds
Okay,
good.
and then we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Okay, great.
All
Thank
right.
you.
You're welcome.